You've spent an entire career fighting fires and rescuing the injured, sick, and dying. But that's all over now. What do you do when the sirens stop, you've hung up your gear, and you walk out of the firehouse for the last time? What do you do with your life when the smoke clears?
Welcome back to the When the Smoke Clears podcast. I'm Russell Miles. I'm here with Tony Ben Cosme. Thank you guys very much for joining us again for another episode. We appreciate everybody who has listened to the shows, who has shown us some kind of support, some kind of love one way or another. We really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on social media. On Instagram, we are When the Smoke Clears podcast, and we should be getting a page set up on Facebook soon and a page set up on YouTube soon. So stay tuned for that. But again, thank you all very much for the support and for the encouragement. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We got a lot of good content coming. Thank you again to everybody for supporting us, and we appreciate it and look for your continued support.
Absolutely. So without further ado, we're going to jump into today's guest, and Tony's going to tell us a little bit who that is.
All right. Today's guest, someone that's near and dear to us. I've known him for a long time, my entire career, even before I got hired. This gentleman has been very influential in a lot of people's career. He's like the flag bearer for the African-American community as far as the fire service in Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service. He's instrumental and motivational and just a strong class act. I want to 31 years of service, retired not too long ago. Retired as a technician or a master firefighter is the rank of the driver between right before lieutenant and after firefighter 3. It's basically you run the firehouse in most firehouses in Montgomery County. He was involved in the recruitment process for over 20 years in Montgomery County. He was very implemental in getting a lot of people recruited and hired. He was involved all the way through the process, from the interviewing to getting people ready to take the test, from A to Z. He did it all as far as recruitment was involved. And at the end of his career, he's did something a little different, which is just a testament of who he is. He got involved in the scheduling process where we have a main section basically at headquarters where they schedule the entire shift every day. And there's one scheduler per shift, and that's where he finished his career. And with further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend and colleague and just a good all-around person, Darren Carter. Darren Carter, welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here, and it's good seeing you guys.
Indeed. And I remember, so I got hired in 2005, and I remember that first day walking into, I think it was the Shady Grove campuses where they were giving the written test. And I remember you. I remember meeting you there. And you were just as encouraging then as you have been throughout your career, as long as I've known you, even to this day. So, yep,
very
absolutely.
Positive. Very positive.
I remember you. So, as you know, we start the show off with a little bit of background about our guests. So, Darren, tell us a little bit about where you were born and life coming up.
Well, I have a very interesting story. I like telling this in February during Black History Month. I was born in Olney, Maryland at Montgomery General Hospital. And you're going, well, what's so important about that? Well, back in February 20th of 1962, my cousin and I were the first Black babies to be born upstairs at the hospital as opposed to being downstairs in the basement. So I love telling that story in Black History Month. And if you were on my shift at the firehouse, that was my little quote for Black History Month. And then I grew up in Spencerville, Maryland. That's right there by Burtonsville. And I went to Burtonsville Elementary, went to Banneker, and I went to Paint Branch High School. I joined the Burtonsville Volunteer Fire Department on March 13th, 1978, when I was 16 years old. I am a proud life member of the Burtonsville Volunteer Fire Department Incorporated. I was a high school cadet. I had a high school cadet for 2 years. I was in 11th grade and 12th grade. In 11th grade, I got Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, and then my 12th grade year, I got EMT. So, and I graduated in 1980 from Paint Branch. So around about 83, I became what they used to call a police groupie. And so back in 83, I got hired in the Metropolitan Police Department. So I went to recruit school in 83. And back in them days, it was funny because you got hired. I got hired in July. And then you go out in the street in September for a Christmas detail, and you stayed there till January, and then you went back to the academy. And so, me being from a small town in Spencerville, that was just maybe a little bit too much for me. And so, about 2 weeks, I resigned and I went back to my normal routine. I went back to the Burtonsville Volunteer Firehouse, hung out there around about January 18th of 2000 of 1988, the county took over, meaning that that's when the Department of Fire and Rescue was established. And back then, it was, you work for the corporation and they only hired X amount of people. So back in 88, I got hired June of 1988. I was in recruit class 2.
So Darren, let me stop you there because we're going to get into all that. And this is all great information, but I want to take it even further back and when you started. So tell us more about you coming up and growing up. Like, what was family
life? Family life was great. I had a mother and father. I had 2 sisters, and I had middle class, lived in Spencerville. Back then, you went outside when the street lights went off. That's when you went in the house. I mean, that's what I did. And I lived in, like I said, Spencerville, and it was unique because everybody who lived on my street was my cousin. My 2 uncles lived there. My 2 aunts lived there. So all of my cousins, and that's all we did all day. And then sometimes I would hear the air raid siren blow, but really it was the house siren blowing at the firehouse. And I had no idea what that was. I was like, what is that? And so my interest in the fire department was peaked when I was very, very young. And if you go today and ask anybody, what do you think Darren was going to do when he grows up? He was going to be a fireman, because that's all I did until I got sidetracked in 83. But I came back to my first love.
Gotcha. So you were really close with the family since you had so many.
Oh, absolutely. And that I would run down to my cousin's house at Christmas time to see what they had. Back then, you got up early. 3 o'clock in the morning, you're running down the street, knocking on the door to see what your cousins got for Christmas. Those are my fond memories of growing up.
Nice.
Yes.
Now, was anybody else in your family?
Absolutely. One person, and he was fireman. His name was Leroy Israel. Was my cousin who lived down the street, and I didn't even know that dude was interested in the fire department. So one day he called me and said, "Hey, I just got hired at Kensington." I'm like, "You got hired at Kensington doing what?" And he worked at Company 18.
Leroy Israel was your cousin?
Yes. Wow. Lived right down the street from me growing up. Yeah.
Okay. So
you guys knew him as Leroy Israel. He was Jay growing up. So I just got accustomed to calling him Leroy because that's what everybody at the firehouse called him. But yeah.
Gotcha. So did you go down to Kensington to see what the fire department was like down there?
No, because I was in Burtonsville. So I knew exactly what it was like. And I was all in Burtonsville. To me, there was no other firehouse but Burtonsville, to be honest with you, back in the day.
Yeah, a little background. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just meant like when he got hired, like, did you go down and just check out Kensington, or were you already involved with Burtonsville?
Yeah, I was already involved. Yeah.
I got you. Go ahead, Tony. You were going to ask something.
Yeah, no, just a little background, just so our listeners can get the county took over. We had corporations that basically ran their each department independently. They did have their own SOPs, their own policies that they did. They were independently run with their fire chiefs. They were incorporated. And then as population grew in Montgomery County, Maryland, call load grew. Staffing got a little tighter. They started the county thought it was a good idea, and it was a good idea for the county to take over all fire rescue services operations, at least most of it. Some of it still was controlled because the land, according to the state, still owned by the corporations, but everything inside is run and the staffing is provided by the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Services as the correct. So when Darren says that he's all he knew is because he didn't go. There was no other. He was in that fire department. They were the fire department by themselves.
Right.
So it's kind of strange that that's part of this whole deal. We've transitioned from one type of department to another. And that's what makes us one of the largest combination systems in the country. Because that transition it's messy at times, I would say, but it's been pretty effective up to this point.
Right.
So you get hired. How was your recruit class? You get hired, and you're the first recruit class. Is that correct?
No, I was the second recruit.
Second recruit class. Okay, you get hired,
and they have pop outs. And you remember I told you I was a high school cadet, and I already had Fire 1, Fire 2. I needed EVOC, but I chose not to pop out. I chose to go through the whole. Back then, it was 12 weeks. Recruit school was 12 weeks. Got hired in June, graduated in September. And there were a couple guys in my class that popped out. But I'm so glad I did stay in the class because I wanted the discipline. I wanted the PT. I wanted to experience a recruit class because, like I told you, when I got hired in the Metropolitan Police, it was like I wanted to be a part of a class. And so that's why I chose to stay. And I'm glad I did because I met some awesome guys. I remember getting hired and we were doing when you could retire. It was that seminar. I don't even know if they do it. They tell you, okay, you got hired on June the 16th, 1988. You can retire June 16th, 2013. And I'm like, 2013? And it's 1988. I'm trying to get through recruit school. You talk about retirement. And so me and a couple of guys in the class, we laugh about that to this day. But I had a great experience in recruit class too. There was a lot of good young ladies and young men in that class.
Yeah, you're one of the first recruit classes the county took over, and that's interesting because you're just at the ground floor of this whole thing taking off now.
Right.
We're like 56. Is that correct, Miles? Recruit class 56?
50 something. 50 something.
We're pretty far down.
Wow.
Pretty far. Yeah, we're hiring 2 classes a year at this point. So
that is awesome.
And we're growing. Awesome. We're growing. Yeah. So you get out of recruit class, which is, I think, it's a good move for people to do an entire recruit class instead of popping out. Just to people are not sure that are popping out is you have all the classes. They're trying to get butts and seats, so they try to get the people that are most qualified to do stuff. Go ahead and start running calls right away. And the problem with that is that they don't teach you exactly how they want you to do the job. Now, granted, your rookie probationary period should be part of that process. However, it does help to be to get a good foundation in a full recruit class.
Right.
And you're right. And most people benefit from that.
Right. And that's why I say I was glad I did go through the 12 weeks. And then I got my first assignment. I went to the Bethesda Fire Department, Station 20 on the B shift. And I enjoyed Station 20, and I tell you why I enjoyed it. As Captain knows, it's a small station. I mean, the kitchen, the TV room, everything is right there. I enjoyed it because back then it was 4 and 4, meaning there was 4 guys on the truck and 4 guys on the engine. And it didn't make a difference to me that it was all career. I enjoyed the volunteer firehouse too, but it was all career, and that was a little different for me because I was used to coming from a volunteer firehouse. I enjoyed Station 20, and then I was there for a year. And then back then you had to do day work. So as soon as I got off probation, I went to Station 13 on day work. And I was there at Station 13 for 2 weeks. And opening came up at Rescue 2. And I said, man, I can go and be a squad driver and clone up on my squad skills. But I guess I didn't check with Lieutenant Moody first before I thought of that idea because he had a different idea for me. He wanted me to brush up on my EMS skills. And I was okay with that because I'm like, that's what we're here for. We're here for the public. And you got, you can come to work with all the great ideas you have, but the main reason you come to work is for this public that you serve.
Absolutely.
And then after day work, I said, I want to go back to Bethesda because I want to be a truck driver. I want to get checked out on the tiller truck. And I went back to Station 20, and that's when I met Chief Gallo. He was a mobile driver, because back then, I don't know if you guys can remember that the highest ranking guy in the firehouse was the lieutenant. The captain rode around in the mobile. He was like the battalion chief back in the day.
Yeah.
And they had drivers, and they were the mobile drivers. And I said one day, just asking the question is, how do you become a mobile driver? And those guys told me, oh, you couldn't be a mobile driver. You have to be a master. You got to be handpicked. And I was like, wow, man. So that was on my list. My list was, hey, I want to be a master, and I want to be a mobile driver. And I just kept that. And I was, and I learned in the fire department early, you can't share everything with everybody because people will crush your dreams if you allow them. And you guys know me enough to know that nobody can crush my dreams, dude. I'm on purpose. I live for purpose. And so that's what I did. I said I was going to do that. And then back in, I left Station 6. Then I went to Station 10. They needed truck drivers. And they enticed me by saying, oh, we'll give you a Saturday Kelly. But see, back then, everybody shared the same Kelly day. And when I say that, you had a Kelly day paddle. So everybody got a Friday, everybody got a Sunday, everybody got a Monday. And every 5 weeks in the cycle, you just moved down to a different day. And then every 5 weeks, you could have back-to-back a Friday and a Monday. Me personally, I thought that was fair, and then they changed it. And then for detail, what they used to do is they didn't do it by inverse seniority. They did it by, where I worked at Station 6, the captain put the months in a bowl, and you pick by seniority who gets to pick. So say you had January, February. January, February is when you got detail. And then the next guy would get March and April. And I thought that was a great system. And then they changed the whole system by inverse seniority. So I'm at Station 10, and I'm working at Station 10. I had to laugh because I don't even think if you guys realize about DOL. And DOL was a Department of Labor ruling where you couldn't volunteer and work in the same county you volunteered. And so not in our wildest dreams where they're going to come up and say, hey, we're going to pay you guys to volunteer. We were like, what? We were doing it for free.
In the county, in the county.
And so, and the only stipulation with working overtime is you only could work 48 hours of overtime every 2 weeks, every pay period. So I left 6, I went to 10, I slept all night, and then I went to volunteer at Burtonsville, and I did that for 3 years because that's how long the program left. As soon as Chief Grover left, the program went away. And so I said, you know what? I want to go to the 1st Battalion. So I put in for Station 12. There was no opening. And so I said, I still want to go. So I went from Station 10 to 1 engine. And not realizing that at Station 10, I would go to bed at 9 o'clock and wake up at 5 o'clock and go home. At 1 engine, I go to bed at 9 o'clock and wake up at 9:30, at 10:15, and midnight. And so it was a little culture shock working at a busy fire.
Battalion 1. Okay, so Battalion 1 is the battalion closest to the District of Columbia. So it's you got 12, 1, 2, 16, 19. These are the Battalion 1 and Battalion 2, which isn't it's a close battalion. It's Battalion 2. That's more more affluent residents that live, and so they don't. I don't think they ran as many calls. You had Bethesda, which where you worked at, so it was 6, 10, 11,
30,
27, 30.
Right.
Those are the 26. Those are the stations that were there in Bethesda. There's we're talking about a 5-mile difference, and we're talking about a 10 call differential.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference. But I say it on this podcast all the time. It's reps and sets.
Right.
And to get good, you need reps and sets. You need to be turning that wheel several times a day. You need to be pulling that hose several times a day. You need to be putting your hands on stuff several times a day. It's said on many podcasts when it's fire rescue related, EMS related. We just talking about it is not enough. It just doesn't do it. That's not the way our brains work. You need to be actual putting your hands on stuff. It's good that you did that. It's good that you went from, and it gives you a good idea how to work everywhere too. Working at different battalions.
Absolutely. And there's no, I tell people all the time when I tell the story, and because I'm going to get into it when I got promoted, is that I tell people the 1st Battalion is not for everyone. Every battalion is good. It's what you bring to the table. If you are fully engaged and you are about the citizens of Montgomery County, it don't matter where they assign you. You're going to come to work and do 100%.
Yep.
So what would you say was your best assignment? What would you say the place that you enjoyed the most?
See that you walked me right into it. Being the master at Company 2 on C shift was my best assignment. You heard Chief Thomas talk about the 1st Battalion in Company 2. To me, it was the best place for me. I was on a shift with some absolutely top shelf dudes. The captain there was phenomenal. She did a great job. She was, oh man, I can't say anything bad about it.
Okay, you're good. Keep going.
Yep, you're good.
Keep going.
That right now, that kind of threw me off there for a minute. That I was on a shift with a bunch of great guys, and the young lady that was on the shift ran a phenomenal shift. I was there until 2008, and when Truck 2 went out of service, it went to 1 engine. So I had to move over to 1 engine because the master wanted to stay to drive the wagon. And although I had more time than him, he really wanted to stay and drive the wagon. And I got along really great with Master Firefighter Nick Medallion. So he stayed back to be the wagon driver, and I moved on to 1 engine. I was like, well, 1 engine is going to be different than when you're a Fire 3 and you're at 1 engine than when you're a master driving the ladder truck every day at 1 engine. I liked that assignment, and then after that assignment, the truck moved again. The truck went to Company 16, and then it was Truck 16. And what I liked about Truck 2 to 1, the Truck 16, that was the only truck in the county that had consistency. The same people rode it every day. The only thing that changed was Kelly days. If a guy did not work his Kelly, then the next guy up. But that truck was consistent. I drove some absolutely phenomenal officers on there, and I was able to have the tiller guy. We had that truck was awesome. I enjoyed that. I didn't have any bad assignments because I made the best out of everywhere I went, and everywhere I went was there for a purpose and a reason. So I don't have any bad experience at the firehouse with that.
So you're Fire 3. Remember taking tests. I see you at the test, taking these promotional tests. You get promoted. That's a transition. That's a transition. We talk about it a lot on this podcast. What was that like? And how was that transition?
You're right, because back then masters could ride the front seat, and at a dual house where I was,
you can run the firehouse basically.
You can run the firehouse, and so as you guys are unit officers. To me, the most stressful thing of that is this guy driving me going to be able to get water out of the fire truck, and does he know where he's going? And once those two things are met, man, it's a breeze. Because I got other things to think about. You're thinking about your plan, your tactics. You're thinking about layout instructions. You're thinking about getting that line through the front door. But I had some good dudes that worked there and was driving me that, man, made it easy. I could imagine if if you had a little deficiency like that. But see, at Company 2, and I'm only giving reference to the 1st Battalion, the bar is set very high in the competition because units are on top of each other. And not that you're going to go and be reckless, is that you know that one engine's coming, 19's coming, over on the line, PG's coming. So it was just the pride in knowing that you were on top of your game.
Yeah, I know. Being consistent, and that's important, especially when it comes to but it's hard in our department to be consistent. We try to be consistent. I mean, Miles is right. Probably living through it more than I mean, I'd lived through it at one point, but I don't. I'm at a station now all the time. I'm a captain at a station. He's a float lieutenant, so it's a day by day type situation. So yeah, it's. So you promoted, you getting through. What was the hardest part you think about from the beginning to the master about being in the fire service? What did you get out of it?
The hardest part is everything when you have a challenge, man, you have to rise up to it. So I can't, I didn't really have any like hard parts because everything worked out. I mean, every time a problem arose, you worked through it. You talked through it. You talked to some good dudes and good females, female officers, and then you just worked through it. I didn't have like a moment where like, man, this thing's wearing me out. I had a very easy career, I would say.
So what made you want to go into scheduling?
All right, that's a good question. So one day I'm driving the lieutenant. His name is Lieutenant Paul Gross, and Lewis Wright is tilling the truck, and we're going down University Boulevard, and Lewis Wright is fussing and upset. And I said, Lewis, what is wrong? He said, just before I got on this truck, I got a email saying that I have to go to ECC. And so he was picked to go to ECC. He was leaving the 1st Battalion. He was going to ECC. And then Lieutenant Paul Gross says, Darren, I'm taking the captain exam. And I went, uh-oh, this dynasty here is getting ready to fall apart. So when I got hired, I had 3 goals. One goal was I was going to not leave this job until I had 7 figures in my deferred comp. I was going to be a master, and I was going to drive the chief in the mobile. But that changed to go to scheduling. So soon as that truck back in the Company 16, I looked at my email. An announcement came out that John Collins was retiring, and they were looking for masters to go to scheduling. And I went, wow, I could not even plan that good. So I applied, I got the job, and I left Company 16, and I went to scheduling.
Weren't you in code enforcement for a little bit?
I interviewed for code enforcement, but before I got to code enforcement, I got a phone call saying, oh, you don't have to go there because someone's leaving 40 and you got the next spot. So when I was back being a Fire 3, I interviewed for code enforcement, but then I got promoted and I went to Company 2.
Okay, just a little background. ECC in Montgomery County is our emergency communication center, public emergency communication center now, and it's ingrained into the fire service, meaning we have personnel that are in our academy that are trained, that are assigned to the PSCC now. And at that time, when Darren, they were forced to go there. They're no longer forced to go there. People voluntarily put in to go there. We have there's a promotional process in there, part of our promotional process, but they get promoted right into some spots. They have a master's position there, they have a lieutenant positions there, and they have a captain positions there. So it's evolved into a bigger process, a bigger part of what we do, and we still have personnel there. Just to give a little background. So you're staying at ECC. You get to the end. You're thinking, what made you say, okay, it's time for me to get out of here? What's the thought process on that?
My thought process was around about I think it was May of 2016. My deferred comp hit the number I was looking for. I had never taken sick leave in the 28 years before I got in the drop. So I had 2 years of sick leave. And I was like, I'm ready. I was good. And so in July of 2016, I got in the drop and I left in 2019.
Okay. Now, we're going to talk a lot about retirement and life after the fire department, but I want to go back to your time in scheduling, because I think a lot of us who get detailed all around, usually your younger fire twos, some of your younger fire threes, especially float lieutenants, we check telestaff constantly to see are we going to be? Yeah, are we in the right place? And especially those of us who work overtime, we're like, all right, well, am I going to get hired here? What spots are open? All of that. And you were actually the man that was making a lot of those moves happen. So talk to us about life in the scheduling office.
Life in the scheduling office. I wish people would be able to come and sit in the chair behind whoever is in scheduling to see how complex it is. It's not as easy as people think it is. Oh, all you have to do is do this, but every move will make another move happen. And one thing I would love to stress to people to say, schedulers do not do anything to you personally. The goal is to get the firehouse staff. And if you live in Germantown and there's an opening in Germantown, it just makes sense that you go to what you can get there faster instead of you going all the way down to the 1st Battalion. That doesn't make sense. So it's a lot that goes into the scheduling office. And I would tell you, I wish people would look past the front apron of their firehouse and don't take it personal, and just take it at, hey, you work for the fire department and not the fire department working for you. And that's the attitude that I had the whole time I was in there. That, dude, it wasn't personal. We're running a fire department here, and we need this to be here. And there's a reason why we do that. And you know what? And I was good at explaining this to folks. You know, call me up. I'll explain to you. Sometimes they liked it. Sometimes they didn't. But it wasn't personal.
Gotcha. And yeah, I think it's real easy for the firefighters to think, man, well, why does the scheduler keep putting me in this station, or why do I go here, or this and that? But that's a good thing to remember. Like, it's not personal.
No, it's not. It is not. It is not personal. It's that we are moving folks. We're moving folks, especially in the morning. It's a lot going on. You're busy. It's like being a wagon driver. You're busy the first 5 minutes, and then the rest of the day you're doing other things. But it's not personal.
Yeah, tell us about the morning times as
oh my goodness, the morning times. 5 o'clock, 5 to 7 is the busiest time, because that's when all the moves, all the sick leave, all the phone calls. Why do I have to go here? How come he can't go? And you just go, hey man, the reason why they got to do this. And you know, all you have to do is explain to folks. You don't have to go because I said so. That doesn't work. You just said the reason why is because this guy's got to do that, and they're doing this. And then most people go, oh, I didn't know that. That's all you had to say. So it's a lot. So if anybody thinks that those guys are up there sitting on their hands in the morning, no, that's the busiest time. Busiest time is between 5 and 7. And then that round about 9 o'clock is when it slows down, because you're building the schedule for the next day and you're taking care of all the emails. And you're married to your phone if you're going to do it right, because every email comes in and you want to be on top of it, because if you don't, you'll have emails stacking up. And some things are time sensitive. Some things have got to be done right away.
Gotcha. No, and I always appreciated all of the work that the schedulers have to do, because I mean, there's no shortage of people complaining about how the scheduler puts the schedule together.
Yeah.
But then if it's time for them to go up and actually do the job, well, then all of a sudden voices get real quiet, real fast.
Right. And, Kevin Ben Cosby said one scheduler. I got a different opinion. I think on C shift, there's 336 people assigned to C shift that you manage every day, that you put in a firehouse. I think there's probably 332 schedulers. Is the way I used to look at it. Good gracious.
No question.
Everybody had a better idea. Say that again.
No question about it. Everybody, they stare at your work. It's the only job that I can remember where they can sit there and look at what you did and critique every move.
Every move, right. But you got to have some tough skin, man.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And so, kind of transitioning from that, like speaking of tough skin, and you had mentioned before how some people in the fire department can stomp on your dreams at times.
Oh, absolutely.
So did you face a lot of issues in the fire department as a Black man coming in when you did? Did you have to face any issues like that dealing with race?
Absolutely. It's funny that you said that. Earlier you said you have any cousins. When I joined the Burtonsville Volunteer Fire Department in 1978 and I opened the door, ain't nobody in there looked like me. Nobody. So it was a little growing pains because they wasn't used to African Americans coming to the fire department. So there were some good dudes there that embraced it, and then there's some good dudes that didn't. And everybody goes, "Oh, why do you always have to bring up race and all that?" Dude, this fire department wasn't designed for us. It just wasn't. We just got it in the fire department, got interested, and it was a adjustment mode, dude. Because remember, I told you 1988 when I got hired, and then when we got cut loose and went to the firehouse, wow! You would think you were asking them guys to give up $100. Man, they didn't want to embrace you. Didn't want to embrace the change. Because you got to remember, in my class, there was probably about 11 brothers in that class. And they went sprinkled all over the county. It was some growth. And has it gotten better? I'd say it's gotten better. It has not gone away. It's gotten better, but it hasn't gone away.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine what guys like yourself and people who came in the job at that time had to deal with. And I've heard people talk about how it wasn't a firehouse at that time for minorities. And we've had different people on the podcast talk about their experiences. And so I really appreciate you and others having to weather those storms and deal with that, to lay a foundation for guys like myself and others who've come after me to be able to come into the job and thrive. So thank you for that.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has time on me. So when I came in, I mean, it was different for sure.
Right.
But I mean, it's all you anyway. I mean, you're determined. You're about your business, and good people gravitate to you, man. There's going to be haters no matter where you work at. People that have an issue, and you can't consume your mind with people that don't have your interest at heart anyway. There are good people. I ran into a lot of good people, and Darren, I'll tell you, of a lot of very, very good people.
Absolutely.
Talk to and considered really good friends and almost
absolutely. And I was going to follow up with that. Don't they like, oh my God, this place was awful. No. For every bad apple, there was about 20 dudes that were top shelf. And like I told a guy the other day, they asked me, do you miss the fire department? I said, dude, I did 31 plus my volunteer time. I don't miss it. So all the folks I want to talk to are in my phone. And I talk to 5 people a day in the rotation. I just call you up and say, hey, how you doing? I heard this. How you doing health-wise? Oh, it's going to work out. See, one thing I will do, I will speak life to you. I don't have time for negativity. I live on purpose. I live on trying to make your life better because I have a great, great life. And I wanted everybody to experience the abundant life they can have. So you're very rare where you catch me being negative because I just don't have time for that.
That is a fantastic attitude to have, not just in the fire department, but life in general.
Life in general, no question.
Right. And I remember, LT, the first time I met you at Station 12, I do remember this because you were volunteering over and you were a volunteer over in PG. And I think you just graduated from Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this dude is going to be something special one day. And look at you now. And then I can't wait. I'm going to get excited when you take the captain exam because that'll be awesome because you already was under the leadership of your captain, who I hold in high regard. So I just had to say that because you are a great guy and so is the captain.
Oh, man, I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's easy when it's the truth.
So going back to you now getting ready to transition out of the fire department, you said you hit a financial goal that you wanted to hit and you felt that it was time to start to step away. So tell us about that final shift when you knew that this is it. This is the last time I'm gonna be here. So tell us about that.
It's funny. My last shift when it's hard when we're riding fire trucks and you had your last day because my last day at 16, and I know what Chief Thomas was talking about, where you get teared up because you put your gear away and you do all that. I had that day, but my last day in scheduling is that I worked overtime because I had a Saturday Kelly and I didn't leave till Monday. So it was a Saturday and it was easy day. They had a little surprise luncheon for me, which I appreciated that. But then the next morning when I got up, I took my bed linen, my quilt, I took the pillowcase out of the pillow, I rolled it all up. I walked out the door. I went to the dumpster at Station 32, and I threw it in the dumpster. And Michelle Ruth, Master Firefighter Michelle Ruth, said, "Why did you throw that away?" And I told her, "Ain't nothing in my house these sheets fit on." And then life, there's a season, and my season in the fire department was over, and I was moving on, and that chapter was done. And I tell that story is that I believe in life, there are seasons. There's a season that I got hired. There was a season I worked, season I retired. And then the next season in my life is that I spent a lot of time in retirement with my wife. We do a lot of things. My daughter's in college and can't wait to do more years when she graduates. And we'll be free. We'll be free to do whatever we really want to do. We can really travel. Because right now I travel, but I kind of stay local because Mackenzie's in school in Virginia. So if she picks up the phone and she needs me, I can't be somewhere else. And I got to be there. I'm going right there. So that's what my day consists of, being retired.
Gotcha, man. So lots of family time, good family.
Oh, absolutely. Time. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Nothing is faith, family, fire department. And if you don't have that in that order, I don't know how it's going to work out for you.
Uh-huh. There you go. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that first month after you left the job. What was that first month like?
Wow, dude, the first month was awesome because I still got up early and got on the treadmill. And I was like, why am I getting up at 4 o'clock to get on the treadmill? I ain't got nowhere to go. So I would get up and get on the treadmill, and then I'd come out in my office and just look out the window. I'd be like looking out the window because I had nothing to do. And then I was like, I'm retired. And then I said, you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start calling folks. Because some folks have a hard time with this retirement. I'm trying to tell them, man, this thing is great. So the first month was, oh my goodness, it was phenomenal. And then as time goes on, I was like, man, this is the best thing that happened. And I wouldn't say I should have done it earlier because I did it when it was time. But man, I enjoy being retired. But you got to be ready. And everybody will know when it's time for them to retire. Everybody's at a different place. And I get it. Because I talk to guys all the time and said, man, I still had gas in the tank. I should have done that. I was like, man, how long did you want to work here? There's a big world out here to go see. You know, if you like hitting golf balls, go hit golf balls. If you like walking, go walk. in the park or do something. I enjoy it. I enjoy being retired. I do. I enjoy it.
Nice. I wanted to expand upon something you just said. Like you said that people will know when they're ready. I don't know. I seem to have met several people who seems like, man, you probably should have left several years ago.
You can't let nobody dictate when you should go, what they do.
Yeah.
You'll know. You'll go. You know what? I'm good. When little things get on your nerves, I heard Chief Coleman say that. When little things like you didn't put the dishes away, or you left a cup in the sink. Yeah, I get it. Maybe it's time for you to probably go do something else. But you'll know, man. You'll know. But you got to be able. You got to plan. You got to have a plan when you retire, because you can't just retire and go, well, because I can see. I tell people all the time there ain't enough hours in the day for me, because I'm busy. I'm busy doing something. If it's not going to lunch with folks on the phone or watching a guy cut my grass. Did y'all
Watching
get that?
guy cut your grass.
Yeah.
Watching him cut my grass and putting down mulch. But I'm busy. Busy, man. I'm telling you, it's tough being me.
It's tough being you.
And it sounds like though that you're busy doing the things that you want to do.
Oh, absolutely. And like my wife and I go on a date every Wednesday. We'll pick a different place to eat, and that makes her happy. That keeps me happy, and I'm good. So we do that, and then that's it. I really my life is very simple. I really enjoy where I am in life, and if I could tell any of these dudes that just got hired, just remember why you here. It's about the citizens, and then plan for retirement. Because I planned back in 1988 when I got hired. I planned for retirement, and how I planned. I mean, I did the max of a deferred comp back in 1988, and back then it was 288, and I did the max. I love telling this story how every 2 weeks my paycheck was $770. This was back in 1988. And you got to remember, gas was 85 cents a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't compare 88 to 2024. And I after I put 288 in deferred comp, I remember my paycheck was 528. And I would used to say, man, if I could just get to $1,000 every 2 weeks, I would be rolling.
Everybody says that at a certain number. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's back in 88. And then, I didn't, like I told you, I didn't take sick leave for the first 28 years of my career. So I had a ton of sick leave. And that also contributed for me leaving, because I got 4%. I think they get 10% now, but I got 4% for it. So I tell people now, you got sick leave, manage it, because I didn't even use all my sick leave, and I gave it to the union, in which I enjoyed that because somebody was able to get a paycheck. So I always was looking out for somebody else. So, the blessing is, it don't do you a bit of good to have all this stuff if you don't share it with somebody.
Great.
And you don't tell anybody anything. And you don't uplift anybody's life. One thing you're going to know about me, I'm going to give you a little bit of spirituality. If you take it, you take it. If you don't, that's on you. I did my part.
That's it.
I hear you, brother. So if you could be remembered for one thing in the fire service, you think, what would it be?
I would say that dude had a pure heart. That dude had the heart for folks, and he cared about folks. And he didn't treat people the way some people treated him. And that's just the way I live my life. I don't have time for that. Brother.
Man, you say the retirement life is good and then all that. When you get up in the morning at this stage of your life, what motivates you to get up, and what brings you joy now, man?
Oh my goodness. What brings me joy? What brings me joy is that the Lord allowed me to get one day to get this thing life right. What brings me joy, and it just happened this morning. Me and my beautiful wife were having a great conversation before I came out here to the office. And then Mackenzie, my daughter, called me and told me that she got the dorm that she wanted for next year in college. So that was it was a great day. And that what brings me joy is that my family life is great. My daughter is doing fine, and I have great friends. That brings me joy.
Fantastic, man. That's all of us can wish for. Just small wins, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's right. Just small things.
You think your view of the world has changed because your experience as a firefighter? Would you think?
Yes, I think so. And I tell you that it showed me that we all need each other to survive.
Right.
That we're not one of us is better than anybody else. All of us need each other to survive. And if we just show a little bit of empathy, a little bit of love, a little bit of compassion, because I did hear Chief Coleman say this, and I said, man, he was right on it. Man, the fire department always talks about they want to be a public servant, but man, when you make a mistake, boy, they will eat you up and spit you out.
Very competitive.
So it is, but you don't have to be mean, man. You can go, hey man, you messed up. Next time, let's do this. And that what keeps. I tell you, that what keeps a lot of people from making decisions and putting themselves out there. So if one thing that we could do, I would say, is show a little bit of love because we all need each other to survive. We do, and it don't matter who you are, where you come from, what you look like. It does not matter.
Yeah.
We're all God's children, and that is the truth.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're a little too quick to eat our own when
absolutely
we make mistakes.
It's not a safe space. It's not a safe space. It is. It is a safe space. I take that back. I mean, it's just we can be who we are in many ways, but because you're so competitive and this is high stress type deal, it lends itself to being. It can be combative at times.
Absolutely.
It can be combative at times. I don't think
you got to know how to handle that, though.
True.
Do you join in, or do you, or you change the culture? That's the thing.
Yeah, and I think that's where it takes some courage, some moral courage on your part.
Absolutely, because you got to remember, there's two types of people. There are people who care, and there's people that could care less. And that's the bottom line. I mean that's nothing new. That's nothing. It's the bottom line. And it only takes you 5 minutes talking to somebody to tell you what kind of person they are.
So say we go back in time and you bump into this young individual in 1978 going through the volunteer, getting ready to become a volunteer. What would you tell him before he walks into that firehouse?
Man, tell him keep the drive. Don't let nothing distract you. Don't let nothing derail you. Keep the faith. Keep doing you. Know your purpose. Know your plan and work your plan. And God has a plan for everybody's life. And just, man, stay on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Stay focused.
Yes, sir.
Consistency. Yeah.
I like that.
Yes, sir.
I like that. And so in that same vein, what would you say to the young firefighters listening to this episode now, like those who just got on the job or who only been on the job for a few years? What would you say to them?
I tell them you have a great career. Take care of your mental health, take care of your body, and get your finances in order, because one day, this season in your life is going to change with retirement. Be ready. Be ready. Enjoy all the things. Enjoy everything. Get promoted. Go where as far as you want to go. And if you want to be a fire three, be the best fire three there is. And I tell people all the time, not everybody can be the quarterback or the coach. Just know your place on the team and be good at the position you play.
Absolutely.
And I would also tell them, remember why you're here. It's for those 1 million citizens in Montgomery County. is why you're here. Yeah, they're going to compensate you. Yep, they're going to do that. But if you remember that just maybe by your action and your voice or what you say to a person change a person's life, you have made a difference in somebody's life for that day.
That's good. That's good. I mean, we all want to be on the big fire, and we all want to pull the baby out of the burning building. Like we all want to do that, but it might be that you helped pick up Mrs. Smith off the floor at 3 a.m, and you helped clean her up when she didn't have anybody to help her that she may remember for the rest of her life.
I'll go even one further than that. On Truck 16, we were like the NASCAR pit crew. If we saw a car on the side of the road, if you didn't have any gas, we'd give you a gallon of gas. If you needed your tire changed, we'd change your tire. Because those little things are what people will remember about the fire department. Those are the little things. And they will go home and tell, oh my gosh, the firemen came by and they did this, they did that. You know, it's not all about the big fire. Now you're gonna interact with folks a lot more on the ambulance because you run more sick people than you run fires. But just come to work and remember why you're here and remember what you said at your interview. I would do anything. If you guys hire me, I will do anything. Just remember that. At 3 o'clock in the morning, you're running that same guy. Just remember you do anything.
Yes, remember that.
Yeah, remember that. You do anything. Oh, if they call you because you're getting held over, remember you do anything.
There you go. There you go.
Absolutely.
Now, also, what would you say to the firefighter who's getting ready to retire in a few years? Like say they just gotten a drop. Like what would you tell them?
Oh, I tell them stop working all this overtime because you're gonna get paid once a month and it's gonna be a certain price, amount of money you're gonna get. Wean yourself off of that or you're gonna be disappointed. And I would tell them to find something to do. Find something to do. If it's playing golf, if it's hanging out with your buddies, you heard they say golf a lot. That was just because I'm playing a little golf. Not good at it, but do that. It's relaxing and have something to do. Just have a plan. Have a plan. Have a plan.
Nice.
Yeah, great.
Like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So now, kind of as we're landing this plane, when you wake up and you look in the mirror now, how do you feel about the guy looking back at you? And what do you say to that guy?
Oh my gosh. I say thank you, Lord, for allowing me to live the life that I lived. I was able to make my parents proud. I was able to have a great wife. I have a wonderful daughter. I have a wonderful life. I have a wonderful friends. And I say thank you, Lord, for allowing me to live on purpose.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for what you still do. And brother, you did good, man. You did good.
Thank you. You guys did too. And LT, you had a great mentor there. So you'll know exactly when you become a captain. You do everything that dude did, and you'll be all right. And I mean that. And you got mad respect for all you guys.
There have been several times on my journeys as a lieutenant where I think about, man, what would Tony do in this situation?
Absolutely. And that dude's just top shelf. A lot of top shelf dudes out there. But the problem is they're getting ready to walk out the door, man. And this next generation is taking over. And that's good because LT, you're the part of the next generation. Yeah. And I tell people you're leaving it in good hands. Yep. You're leaving it in good hands.
There's a lot of good people coming up.
Absolutely they are. And they're going to take this fire department to the next level. And that's a beautiful thing. And then on the closing, you guys keep working because that's how I get paid. I love it. Hire everybody. Hire more people. That's how they send me my check. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man.
All right, Darren.
So man, hey, if people wanted to get in touch with you after this, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. My email address is wdc mc730@gmail.com. And you can email me all you want. And I love to talk to you.
Awesome. Well,
That is fantastic.
we're able to succeed because of good people like yourself who came before us and showed us how it's done. So, like I said, you are one of the most positive people that I encountered from my first day encountering Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Services, and to this day, you remain one of the most positive and encouraging, influential men that I know of. So thank you, Darren. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your faith. Thank you for all that you have been to myself and to many others in this department.
All righty. You guys have a blessed day, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Take care, Darren. Take care.
All righty. Be good.
Thanks for listening to the When the Smoke Clears podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Instagram at When the Smoke Clears podcast, or you can email us at whenthesmokeclears8@gmail.com. That's whenthesmokeclears and the number 8 @gmail.com.